Perhaps one of the most defining changes in the recent video game industry is the rise of microtransactions, in-game items that can be purchased with real-world money. Most of the time, these in no way improve a player's skill level or even enhance the experience that much, but there have been a few outliers where these purchases have a profound impact on someone's real-world credit score. Whether it be through balance-breaking builds, ultra-rare cosmetics, or some of the most eye-watering investments that see games branch out into realms of stocks and shares, these are some of the best examples of gamers with too much money on their hands. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are the 10 most expensive in-game items ever. Number 10. Javelin, Star Citizen, $2,500. Star Citizen's javelins are one of the best examples of gamers trusting in the long-term investment model. While it certainly wasn't the first title to have in-game items double up as currency, the amount developers' Cloud Imperium games have been able to raise for a game still in development is staggering. The items that have made the biggest splash over the course of the game's lifetime have been Javelin destroyer spaceships. According to Cloud Imperium, these 1,132-foot-long Javelin destroyers come with 4 primary thrusters, private rooms for the captain and officer, a hefty hangar bay capable of housing a gunship, 12 maneuvering thrusters, a heavily armored bridge, and a lifetime insurance warranty. Players were also told that these ships were battle-hardened, meaning they'd also have to fork out for the missing 20 gun turrets and 2 torpedo launchers. The end total needed to get one of these ships in working order? $2,500 real-world US dollars. Not that stopped the game's investors, however. Within a minute of the auction going live, all 200 Javelins had been sold, raising over $500,000 for Cloud Imperium games. All of this in a game that still hasn't been released, even after a decade in development. Number 9. Blue Party Hat, RUNESCAPE, $4,000. Going from a juggernaut spaceship capable of conquering entire galaxies to something far more humble, RuneScape's famous Blue Party Hat once set a player back over $6,500. In 2001, developers Jagex decided to hold a special Christmas celebration in RuneScape, spreading the season of goodwill by dropping Christmas crackers to players, which, when pulled, would result in the winners getting items and the losers getting a consolation party hat. Despite all being a bit of fun that wasn't really worth more than a few pennies initially, ultimately these party hats were discontinued and not obtainable after the celebration. The value of these hats subsequently began to soar, far eclipsing the maximum value allowed at the in-game Grand Exchange marketplace. Price estimates for the item still value the Blue Party Hat at over 2 billion RuneScape gold, with recorded sales roughly equating to over $4,000. And with no other hats being introduced since, it seems these incredibly rare items will only continue to rise in value over the coming years. Again though, it's just a paper party hat. Number 8. Zuzo, World of Warcraft, $9,500. World of Warcraft is the world's most popular MMORPG, home to some of the most dedicated gamers that the industry has ever seen. Back in 2007, one of these players took dedication to the game to a staggering new height in a transaction that would see Blizzard clamp down on their character. Zuzo was a level 70 Night Elf rogue in WoW who managed to sell his character to a player called Shax for roughly €7,000, about $9,500 at the time. The justification for this life-changing amount of money was that this rogue came with the legendary twin blades of Azeroth, which could only be looted off Illidan Stormrage's corpse in the Black Temple. Zuzo then continued to play the game for years after the sale with a different rogue build. As for Shax, the character quickly disappeared from the game, with most assuming they'd probably been banned. Blizzard have always been firm on their policy of selling accounts being a big no-no, so it's safe to say this might not have been the smartest of investments from this not-so-slick buyer. Number 7. Burning Killer Exclusive, Team Fortress 2, $12,000. The Killer Exclusive is an in-game cosmetic item for Team Fortress 2 made by its community. Named after the term for a juicy breaking news story, this item is a light beige fedora that can be worn by all classes with a card saying press sticking out the front. The item was initially just a promotional tie-in launched with PC Gamer, but soon found its way into the game as a cosmetic, with the flaming variant quickly becoming one of the rarest pieces of equipment on the market. The Burning Killer exclusive stock continued to climb over the following years, eventually being sold via TF2's marketplace for 400 buds in 2014, a sum which, when converted, works out to around $12,000. The trade was made between a player known as Shadow and the buyer Gora, and became endemic of the impact community marketplaces can have on virtual items. It remains the highest value trade ever in the Team Fortress 2 community, and as a result has become pretty famous, or infamous. Number 6. Echoing Fury Mace, Diablo 3, $15,000. With the highest damage of any one-handed weapon, the Echoing Fury Mace's discovery in Diablo 3 was a watershed moment in the game's history. Requiring a character level of 60 to drop, this infamous mace gained a reputation for exploiting a damage allocation bug, so naturally it was pretty sought after. With 1166.2 to 1433.8 damage per second and 1.25 to 1.26 attacks per second, the Echoing Fury Mace is the ultimate DPS dealing machine. Following the 2.6.6 patch, the weapon gained a unique stacking element that increases attack speed and movement by 75%, 25% in total for every enemy killed, just in case it wasn't powerful enough. The original owner of the weapon famously sold the Echoing Fury Mace for a few $1,000s to allegedly help pay their rent, but that didn't stop its stock from soaring in the years since. A bid of 40 billion in-game gold was later offered up for the weapon, which, when you work out the conversion, is about $15,000. Number 5. Dragon Slaying Sabre, Age of WULIN, $16,000. Snail's Age of WULIN / WUSHU launched in China in August of 2012, but shot to the gaming world's attention with an auction in China on Christmas Day of 2011. The auction was held for various digital in-game items that players would be able to use when the game launched. Various items were listed and commanded decent prices, with the likes of the Hook of Departure, of which there's only 10 in the game, and a Lordly Spear Sheath, of which there's only 5, selling for 10,000 yuan, which is about $1,600 and 18,300 yuan, which is about $2,500 respectively. However, the biggest lot of the auction was a scabbard called the Dragon Slaying Sabre, which ended up going for 100,000 yuan, which is about $16,000. With the game still in beta at this point, it was an astonishing moment, but the promise of it being a one-of-a-kind item that would only have one owner in its lifespan managed to coax someone into burning a very big hole in their wallet. Number 4. Gold Magnate, EVE Online, $33,000. In January of 2020, YouTuber Scott Manley broke internet headlines everywhere when he lobbed a whopping $33,000 on a gold magnate in EVE Online, making it the most expensive ship sold in the game. One of the rarest ships, these powerful frigates have only ever popped up sporadically over the course of EVE's history, and have only been obtainable via in-game tournament rewards. The historic purchase actually came during CCP Games' Plex for Good campaign, which was an initiative run to help raise money for the Australian bushfire effort. The YouTuber purchased this gold magnate from user Keylon Darklight's auction with a bid of 1,001,001 Plex. For reference, Plex is an in-game currency in EVE, with 1 million Plex worth approximately $32,500 in real-world money. That 1 million Plex is worth about 3.3 trillion ISK, the game's primary currency that most players deal in. Given the fact players start off with a ship worth around 5 million ISK, about 5 cents, that makes this sale worth about 170 years of time in-game. This $33,000 purchase certainly made a splash, but at least in the case of this particular transaction, it did some good outside the game too. Number 3. Ethereal Flames Pink WARDOG, Dota 2, $38,000. In Valve's Dota 2, couriers are used to transport items to and from a base to players dotted across the map. Every player gets one, they're invulnerable when they're in their home fountain, and they basically get player for the gold passively throughout the match. It's safe to say couriers aren't the most jaw-dropping part of this MOBA, however that all changed in November of 2013 when it was revealed a player had forked out a whopping $38,000 for one of these trusty steeds. According to a player named Pada, they sold their Ethereal Flames Pink WARDOG to another user for that 5-figure sum. The WARDOGs are already amongst the most powerful couriers in the game, and the Ethereal Flame effect is a striking visual. But where the value in the item really comes from is in its rarity. Allegedly, only 4 creatures of this kind existed in the game at the time, mainly due to Valve not having pink set as one of its primary 10 colors, on account of glitches that could occur with black skins. In turn, this made the rarity of the item skyrocket, and one user was there to capitalize. Number 2. Souvenir AWP Dragon Lore, CSGO, $61,000. Valve's Counter-Strike Global Offensive has a whole array of weapon and item skins available from the Steam marketplace. These in no way enhance someone's abilities in the game, but some of the designs have commanded a hefty price tag over the years. The most legendary is the Dragon Lore AWP, which was added to the game in 2014 as part of the Boston 2018 Cobblestone Souvenir package during Operation Breakout. There are 10 different cases that include the Dragon Lore that players can grab, but it does have one of the rarest drop rates in the game of just 0.64%. The striking design coupled with this rarity has contributed to Dragon Lore's price fluctuating from $2,700 to $8,600, depending on its attached quality stat. For one particular player though, that wasn't sufficient. Following the release of the souvenir package in the wake of the Boston Major, one player forked over a hefty $61,000 for the souvenir version of this legendary sniper rifle. Number 1. Planet Calypso, Entropia Universe, $6 million. From its launch, MindArc emphasized that Entropia Universe would prioritize capitalism over gameplay. The game's open marketplace allows players to redeem the in-game Project Entropia dollar for US dollars at a fixed 10-to-1 exchange rate, which has led to some hefty investments into various in-game items. The game has seen in-game items such as a nest egg, holiday resort, and sections of a space station all auctioned off for tens of thousands of dollars. However, the biggest investment of all was reserved for its very first piece of major content added, Planet Calypso. Having attracted over 950,000 registered accounts from over 200 countries, Planet Calypso acted as the centerpiece to Entropia's universe, which prompted a mind-boggling $6 million purchase from fellow developers C Virtual Worlds in 2011. The studio had planned to turn Calypso into a wacky tribute to Michael Jackson, where players could make donations to his various charities whilst remembering the King of Pop, but instead channeled that energy into the thankfully cancelled game, Planet Michael. Regardless, with $428 million sunk into the game over its lifespan, you can see where the developer's lofty valuation came from. That's the end of our list, but do let me know down in that comment section if you can think of any other entries for the most expensive in-game items ever. As always, I've been Jess from WhatCulture. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you like, you can come say hi to me on my Twitter account where I'm at Jess McDonald, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more great gaming lists.